with 48 hours before Florida casts the crucial vote in this Republican primary. On this stage tonight, Speaker Newt Gingrich, Senator Rick Santorum, Congressman Allen West, and a number of incredible guests are going to face down with our Florida voters as we look at Florida 2012. I'm standing with one of the front runners, statistically tied with Mitt Romney for the lead in this state as well as nationwide, Newt Gingrich. Please welcome him. You faced a lot of criticisms for how you handled the media. And yet, how many of you supported what he did to John King last Monday? How many of you supported what he did with Wolf Blitzer this time? I want the viewers at home to take a look at how high you dialed this segment when you challenged the media to focus on policy.
Are you satisfied right now with the level of transparency as far as his personal finances?
Well, you and I have a great relationship. It goes back a long way. I'm with him. This is a nonsense question. Look, how about if the four of us agree for the rest of the evening, we'll actually talk about issues that relate to governing America.
Who had a favorable reaction to that segment?
Oh, yeah.
Why?
It was amazing because you focused on the issues and you didn't want to make the race between you and Mitt Romney the whole time.
Robert.
Yeah, it was digressing into personal attacks, and you tried to bring it back to the presidential election.
Terry?
Well, and you brought our frustration. We were sitting there watching the debate for an hour and saying, somebody do something, and you did it.
Are you frustrated with the media?
Yes. Yes.
Are you hostile to the media?
Yes.
Yes.
What's going on here? Because you seem to capture that.
Well, I keep trying to tell reporters I know that they need to get the powers that be to understand that the alienation that is growing, and part of it's because the media is self-centered. They want to do what they want to do. I've already said, if I'm the nominee this fall, I will not accept the Presidential Debate Commission model.
Do you agree with that?
I will not have a Mickey Mouse debate where some reporter gets to decide what matters to the American people. And I think it is exactly wrong because it puts them in the position of judging what matters. And Wolf's a good guy. I mean, I'm not in any way hostile to Wolf as a reporter, but he took about a third of our time on junk. The other week, we actually had 15 minutes on a contraception issue decided in Griswold versus Connecticut in 1963, about which, to the best of my knowledge, no one has discussed it politically in a decade. And you had to think, what is this reporter doing?
What was the point?
So what question, if you could ask it, do you want to know from Speaker Gingrich right now? You're first.
I heard you kind of hint at Marco Rubio in a more significant role than in the cabinet. How would you convince him when he said no, he's not going to be a vice presidential candidate?
Well, first of all, let me be quite clear. I am not, at the present moment, saying anything decisive. But if I become the nominee, I've known Marco a long time. I knew him before he was Speaker. I would seek to be very persuasive about America and the importance of America and the importance of his helping America. And I think that he's a guy who can be swayed by patriotism. But I don't want to, I don't want to set up in a big fight now and have Marco say, no, I'll never take it. I'll just say, he's one of the great talents we have in the country, not just the Republican Party.
How many of you would want to see him as VP? Raise your hands. Well, it certainly would help winning Florida. Go ahead.
It's been 1,002 days since the budget's been passed. None of us can even comprehend that because we couldn't run our house like that. One question would be, what would you do starting day one to fix that problem, obviously? But the second thing is, what do we have to do to the system so that that never happens again? I mean, it's absolutely incomprehensible.
Well, the first thing you got to do is break up the partisanship, which is why I said tonight I want to run an American campaign. I want to bring everybody in who cares about our values. If we get elected, I would immediately, before being sworn in, meet with every single Democrat individually, not just the leadership. I'd try to find a way to build bridges on little things and try to figure out how we could work together. I also would say as president that if you try to leave town without having finished your job on time, I'll call you back into special session.
Now, you mentioned the issue of the budget, because I want to show another clip to get your reaction. In the debate on Thursday night, you talked about the importance of shrinking the government rather than expanding taxes. Once again, it was one of the highest tested moments of the entire debate. Let's take a look at that clip.
This is where I'm the opposite of Obama. I believe we need to have somebody who fights for hardworking taxpayers. My interest is in reducing everybody's tax here to 15%, not trying to raise his to the Obama level. So I proposed an alternative flat tax. You know, I have proposed an alternative flat tax that people could fill out where you could either keep the current system, this is what they do in Hong Kong. You either keep the current system with all of its deductions and all its paperwork, or you'd have a single page. I earned this amount, I have this number of dependents, here's 15%. My goal is to shrink the government to fit the revenue, not to raise the revenue to catch up with the government, and I'd be happy.
How many of you agree with that? Raise your hands. How many of you strongly agree with that? Raise your hands. What is so powerful about shrinking the government? Isn't that ideological?
It is, but I still wish we would shrink the government.
Why?
Because I think that we as individuals know better what to do with our money.
Eduardo?
I think the government as solution is a flawed ideology. And I think basic to being Republican is you believe in the power of individuals. I agree with that statement.
It's individualism. Liberty means that if I can afford a car that's an SUV and gets terrible mileage, that should be my choice. I should have my choice of health insurance, my choice of light bulbs, shower heads, all those things.
I have a different, still on the same subject, but I'm watching the taxes where you're talking about a flat, flat 15% and your choice. We have almost half of the country that pays no taxes right now. Would those people be paying taxes under your plan that they don't pay now?
Well, in a lot of cases they would, because a lot of people aren't paying taxes right now. Remember, there are two large blocks that are always included in that. People who don't have a job and people who are retired.
Right.
And by the way, the people who are retired pay property tax, sales tax, they don't, auto tax, they don't feel undertaxed even if they're retired.
Right.
But my goal would be to ultimately have everybody participate in the system, although frankly, if you're very, very poor, I'd be more concerned to get you to pay something for Medicaid, to have a sense of that it's a value and it's participatory, than to necessarily get you on the tax side in phase one. But our goal would be to say to everybody, if you wanted, you'd have no paperwork, fill in one page, here's what I earned, here's the number of dependents, here's what I owe.
Are we an overtaxed country?
I think we're an overtaxed country with a bloated government.
We're going to come back. We're going to do two segments here. If you will stay one more segment, we're going to give our Florida voters the chance to respond to you. And coming up, Senator Rick Santorum, Congressman Allen West, and the husband and wife team from Capitol Hill that I promise you are going to knock your socks off when we come back. Thank you.